the John Bolton raid was just in the morning that the very first of the Epstein files were due to be transmitted from Pam Bondi's Justice Department to the House of Representatives. It looks a bit like a distraction. Is it that simple?
What exactly looks like the distraction?
Well, to raid John Bolton's house.
Yes. But I don't anticipate. No. I don't think we should look at it just like that. I think this is part of a concerted effort to intimidate all perceived enemies of the president. If you are perceived as an enemy of the president, then the policy is we're going to make your life difficult. That's it. That's the policy. Additionally, yes, it has the cream on top, I suppose, of being another headline to counter the Epstein headlines. I mean, that is also a foundational premise at this point. Epstein is a problem. It could, in fact, be a mortal problem. So we have to do anything to frustrate that story continuing on. Now, where we are in that story is that Congress has insisted on seeing some aspects of these so-called Epstein files. Now, so the question is, there's two questions. What are they going to get? And actually, a continuing question, never answered, is what is in these files? So why don't we just spend a few moments actually trying to parse that, because that's going to be germane to what Congress gets. So these files and let's do this in a broader sense. The material the government holds on Jeffrey Epstein will consist of the following. There will be depositions supplied by the many women who have accused Epstein of sexual abuse. And most of that material has already been made public. Then there will be the FBI's own investigation of those women. And it's not all of those women, it's the women that they have chosen for whatever reason to investigate or vet, you might say. I don't mean to suggest that investigate, they are looking for any issues with these women, but they are looking to further delve beyond their own depositions into what they might know, into what kind of witnesses they might make. But from the MAGA point of view, that aspect of this could be problematic because many of these, the FBI may have found issues with some of these women to challenge their credibility. So from the MAGA point of view, to complicate the story in any way is something that the administration, and a box that the administration does not want to open. The next aspect of this, which is to me one of the most interesting aspects, is the internal communications in the Justice Department about why they made the decision in 2019 to forsake the non-prosecution agreement they entered into with Epstein in 2007. So this is a complicated deal, but a big deal. Never before in the history of the Justice Department, a non-prosecution agreement is a common method used, either to get people to testify, or in Epstein's case, the agreement was put in place because the feds said, we won't prosecute you if you plead guilty to a state charge. There it is, signed, sealed, that was the agreement. These agreements are never broken for obvious reasons, because who would, if the Justice Department breaks them, who would ever agree to them? But they did in this instance. And the question is what caused them to do that? Why? What pressure was brought to bear?
Because he knew Epstein was out there. He was obviously talking to you.
Yes, exactly. Epstein had started to talk, yes. But the other consideration might well be that it was the Southern District of New York, part of the Justice Department, but with a long history of its own independence.
Well known as the Sovereign District. And
exactly.
If people have watched Billions and other shows, they've seen that it's one of the most powerful prosecutorial jobs in the country traditionally has been the Manhattan federal prosecutor.
And we know that the Southern District was at that time investigating Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, many people in the Southern District have been fired in the second administration because of that reason. So, did the Southern District, did they break this non-prosecution agreement in the hope of leveraging Jeffrey Epstein to deliver evidence about Donald Trump? So that's just another aspect of what's going to be in these files, and quite likely a key area that the present Trump White House does not want exposed. Then the other aspect of this would be Jeffrey Epstein's emails. The FBI went into his house, took his computers. Obviously, the emails are there. Those emails will likely implicate a vast number of other people who have not yet been connected to Jeffrey Epstein. They will also expose who Jeffrey Epstein was talking to on a frequent daily basis in the second Trump administration, and also what Trump friends Epstein was talking about. And of course, one of the things that he was talking to them about was Donald Trump.
And so one of the things that we all remember what became known as Epstein's Black Book, and it was this collection of phone numbers that really stopped in somewhere around, I believe, 2007 or 8. I used to have a copy on my desk. It was actually a very useful resource for finding numbers for famous people. But that's the last we knew, and this is like a whole new treasure trove.
You know, as I have tried to point out many times in the cascade of Epstein information and the truths in quotation marks that have developed, that Black Book was not Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book. That was Ghislaine Maxwell's Black Book. So anyway, but the emails will be a Black Book.
And he was, one assumes he was a prolific emailer because he was well connected. And
well, yeah, I mean, everybody is a prolific emailer, it turns out. So, but
except Donald Trump, who is prolific on social media, he doesn't even need to email direct.
Precisely. No, good point. But then the other category would be just what is on Epstein's computer, just his hard drive, which would give a roadmap to many of the financial questions about Jeffrey Epstein, and also likely, certainly from what I know about Epstein, to connect him and his financial dealings to various regimes around the world which might be compromised or even destabilized by this connection to Epstein. So, to come back, and I apologize for the long digression here, but I think it is helpful to have an idea of what the government has in its hands. So to come back to what Congress will be getting, I suspect that all they will be getting is a rehash of the depositions supplied by the many women who have accused Epstein of sexual abuse, much of which in some form or another we have already seen.
And which we know, because we have seen them, contain really very few ticking time bombs. They are.
Yeah, no. Mostly, it is. We will rehash the information we have already had about Jeffrey Epstein.
And we should say that, of course, that information is horrific. And it's it's a systematic and predation on women. But what it is not,
even that would be part of the distraction.
Yes, and I was just say something that's priced in.
Look at this, and this is so, and this is, what we'll rehash again. It's the rehash. We're going to replay what we know without going on to what we don't know, which is the point of this exercise.
Yes, and I'll just say, from the point of view of the Daily Beast, first ran stories about this back in 2011, and those stories were about the abuse that Jeffrey Epstein committed. It was by a reporter.
Those stories also were based on these depositions.
Exactly.
And the point about these depositions, I mean, one of the points is that they're depositions, so they represent necessarily. Nobody is cross-examined here. This is lawyers making a case, and these lawyers who got paid an enormous amount of money to make this case have made it well. But at this point, it becomes a distraction to learning about the significant other mysteries of Jeffrey Epstein.